Hello, students! So far, we've covered self-introduction, informative speeches, and persuasive speeches. And that you've learned and sharpened your speech skills such as researching, organizing, writing, and speaking. And now, let's turn to special occasion speeches. So in this lecture, I will first explain the meaning of special occasion speeches. Then, I will explain different types of special occasion, what components they need to have, and what the way they are expected to be delivered. During this process, I will show you some excellent special occasion speeches. In each of these different occasions, speakers are asked to deliver speeches relating to the event. Therefore, a thorough understanding of what is expected of the speaker in each of different occasions is our key to nailing down the speech. A special occasion simply means an important day or event. All the speeches in this category are given to mark the significance of a major milestone or an impressive personal achievement. Common special occasions are birthdays, weddings, award ceremonies, funerals, and political events. Accordingly, special occasion speeches include toasts, roasts, eulogies, inaugural addresses, convocation and commencement speeches, dedication speeches, business and class presentations. But due to the time limit, I will only focus on a few types of special occasion speeches that are more commonly used. For the purposes of simplicity, we've broken special occasion speeches into two groups: ceremonial speaking and inspirational speaking. Now, let's walk through a few common forms of ceremonial speech and inspirational speech with examples. Most of the time in real life, we can find ourselves on the receiving end of such speeches instead of delivering them. But here, you can learn to listen critically and well to a speech to get the most out of it. Ceremonial speeches are speeches given during a ceremony or a ritual, usually marked by its formality, including introduction, presentations, acceptance, toasts, and eulogies. While the goal of an inspirational speech is to elicit or arouse an emotion or an imagery among the audience. Now, let's look at them one by one. A speech of introduction is a typical kind of ceremonial speech. It introduces the main speaker at an event and creates a welcoming atmosphere. You can think of it as a mini speech given by the host of a ceremony. Just like any other speech, a speech of introduction should also be a complete speech and have a clear introduction, body, and conclusion. And you should do it all within 2 minutes. After all, the person making the introduction should not be the focus of the attention. The introductory speech usually has 4 components. 1. Provide a brief background of the main speaker. 2. Introduce the speaker's topic. 3. Inspire the audience to listen to that speech. And 4. An invitation from the audience to warmly welcome the speaker. Sometimes, the introductory speech can even be shorter if the speaker is well known to the audience. But it needs to be accurate. Check with the speaker to make sure your introduction is accurate in every single detail. It has to highlight the speaker's qualification. Last, it also needs to adapt to the audience. For an introduction, think of a hook that will make your audience interested in the upcoming speaker. You need to find something that can grab the audience's attention and make them excited about hearing the main speaker. Here is an example of a speech of introduction.
My guest today, however, stands firmly on the side of science and has provoked controversy with his attacks on religion.
Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Richard Dawkins.
One of the most prolific thinkers of his generation, he shot to fame in the 1970s with his research into genetics, and his book, The Selfish Gene, transformed evolutionary biology. His most famous work, The God Delusion, sold millions of copies and has been translated into more than 30 languages.
Richard, thanks so much for joining us here on Our.
The speech is the beginning part of a talk show that centers on sensitive topics. And the guest being introduced was a famous scholar and writer, Richard Dawkins. The host started his introduction by stating the guest's standpoint. My guest today stands firmly on the side of science, and pointed out that the guest is controversial, saying that he provoked controversy with his attacks on religion. Then he highlighted the guest's achievements and therefore aroused the audience's interest in the following talk. Speeches of award presentation. The second type of common ceremonial speech is the speech of award presentation. In our class, a presentation speech is a brief speech given to present a prize, honor, or award. Unless you are presenting an Oscar or the Nobel Prize, it's unlikely that your audience will fully understand what this award is. You need to describe briefly what this honor means and how the recipient earned this recognition so that everyone will appreciate the person's achievement and contributions. Remember to focus on achievement solely relating to this award. Limit to facts of the specific honor you are presenting. For instance, it is unimportant to mention a recipient's basketball record when you are presenting an academic scholarship. Next, make sure to praise every participant's hard work. If the audiences know who the losers are, take a moment to praise the losers. Just come up with a couple of sentences that sum up the collective experiences and efforts of the group or community. The complement to a speech of presentation is a speech of acceptance. There are three typical components of a speech of acceptance. Thank the givers of the award or honor. Thank those who help you achieve your goal, and put the award or honor into perspective. First, you want to thank the people who have given you the award or honor and possibly those who voted for you. We see this done every year during the Oscars. First, I like to thank the Academy and all the Academy voters. Second, you want to show gratitude to those who help you achieve the award or honor. We all have families, friends, and colleagues who help us achieve what we've done in our life. And the speech of acceptance is a great opportunity to recognize their efforts. Lastly, put the award in perspective and let your listener know what this award means to you. Now, let's watch a short video of an award ceremony where both the speech of presentation and acceptance were delivered. The award is Edan Prize for Education Research and the recipient is Usha Goswami, a neuroscience professor at the University of Cambridge. Notice how the presenter and the recipient both choose to use the stage to put the prize into perspective and really help the audience understand the significance of education and educational research.
We hold high respect for Professor Goswami's visionary approach to answer for our children's well-being and their future. It's exciting to see her groundbreaking work setting the scientific basics in understanding how we can help every child succeed.
So I'd like to thank everyone for coming and to say how deeply honoured I am to receive the Edan Prize and to have my research in educational neuroscience, language and literacy recognised by the Foundation. The Edan philosophy is that education opens the door for the enlightened mind to connect with the world. And neuroscience is showing us how the brain helps to create the mind in mechanistic detail. By connecting with the world, then the enlightened mind acquires knowledge that can lead humankind on to endless opportunities and possibilities.
Toasts. At one time or another, almost everyone is going to be asked to deliver a toast. The most familiar form to you might be a wedding toast featured in a movie or TV series. A toast is a speech designed and delivered for the purpose of congratulating someone for an honor, a new job, or getting married. You can also toast someone to show your appreciation for something they've done. When preparing a toast, your first goal is always to keep it brief. Toasts are generally given during the middle of some kind of festivities like wedding or party. And so you don't want your toast to last too long. Second, just like the presentation speech, the goal is to focus attention on the person or persons being toasted, not on the speaker. So, focus your attention to the people being toasted, both by physically looking at them and by keeping your message about them. To conclude the toast, simply say something like this: "Please join me in recognizing Lucy for her achievement," or "Congratulating Lucy on her wedding, and lift your glass." And others will do the same, marking the end of your speech. An eulogy is a speech given in honor of someone who has died. It captures the life story of the deceased and helps family members and participants remember the time they shared. Think of it as an opportunity to pay tribute to the person who has deceased. So it is firstly a summary of story of someone's life. Second, tell a touching story. The eulogy should remind the audience to celebrate the person's life as well as mourn their death. Lastly, though an eulogy is often given at a funeral or memorial service, it can be helpful to look for at least one point to be lighter or even humorous under certain circumstances. In some cultures, a shared laughter is even deemed as a healing experience. But as I mentioned, this practice is culture-specific. Inspirational speeches. The power of these speeches lies in the rousing words and imagery that capitalize on the emotional response of the audience. For our purposes, we're going to look at two types of inspirational speeches: goodwill and speeches of commencement. Goodwill is a favorable attitude towards someone or something. Speeches of goodwill are often given in an attempt to build a goodwill relationship with the audience and get audience members to view the person or the organization more favorably. Although speeches of goodwill are clearly persuasive, they try to avoid being seen as overt and biased. Instead, they're often delivered as informational giving speeches that focus on an individual or organization's positive attributes. They may occur on a small scale, such as a speech by the new CEO to a company, or on a large scale, for example, a world leader's state visit to another country. Now, I will show you a special goodwill speech delivered by a famous Indian actress, Priyanka Chopra, at the 70th anniversary event at UNICEF. I assume that after watching this video, you will realize how one speech can be both informative and persuasive, and how powerful simple facts can be.
To every single person involved in UNICEF, keep doing what you're doing, because the world is a better place because of you. My involvement with UNICEF started 10 years ago in India. Today I stand here humbled, enriched, committed because of that exact experience. I want to thank the India team who has worked tirelessly with me for over 10 years now for the amazing journey so far. And I want to thank UNICEF for giving me this opportunity to extend the work that I can do to the world. Everywhere we look today, you can see the advancement of man, how the human mind has basically invented, created, and built a whole new world. Yet strangely, every time that I have been on the field, I've wondered how that same human mind continues to allow the exploitation of children across the world, where girls are being denied to go to school, where children are living without clean water, medical care, protection, even food, where their bodies and minds are unprotected from violence, abuse, and exploitation, where they are targets of war. Every day, horrifying images, fresh horrifying images flash across our screens. A 10-year-old girl dressed as a bride, marrying a man twice her age. A boy sitting at the back of an ambulance trying to understand what just happened to him. A girl watching her brother go to school as she prepares for another day of housework. A boy's lifeless body washing up on a beach far, far away from his home. Ladies and gentlemen, people of the world, we ask you to join us today to become the collective voice of oppressed children across the world in our fight against the injustices that they have had to endure every day. I thank you for being there today. I'm humbled, inspired even more as I look around and I listen to everyone here, not just to be a part of UNICEF, but to be involved with all of you individuals who have selflessly dedicated their voice, their time, their heart into helping the world see light, that we are seriously endangering our future, which is our children. I recently read a quote somewhere that being human is given, but keeping our humanity is our choice. So let's choose humanity. Let's choose to act now, let's choose to fight now, and let's choose to ensure a better world for our children and their children and the generations to come. My wish for children is freedom. The freedom to think, the freedom to live. Thank you very much.
The second type of inspirational speech is the speech of commencement, which is delivered to recognize and celebrate the achievements of a graduating class or another group of people in a similar position. Nearly all of us have sat through commencement speeches at some point in our life. Numerous public figures have been asked to deliver commencement speeches at colleges and universities. Steve Jobs' Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish speech is perhaps one of the most well-known. When preparing such a speech, make sure that your commencement speech addresses the specific theme for the graduation. Some common themes are persistence, personal achievement, professionalism, and responsibility. As the speaker, you've been asked to give life lessons, to impart wisdom and advice. So try to talk about your life and how graduates can learn from your experiences to avoid pitfalls. Ask yourself this question: how can your life inspire the graduates in their future endeavors? Other than giving life lessons, put the speech into the broader context of the graduates' lives. Lastly, make the speech humorous. Commencement speeches should be entertaining and can create joy and laughter. Remember that you are not only facing an audience of graduates who are there to get their diplomas, but also their proud family members and friends. Here is an example.
Looking back at the 21-year-old that I was at graduation is a slightly uncomfortable experience for the 42-year-old that she has become. Half my lifetime ago, I was striking an uneasy balance between the ambition I had for myself and what those closest to me expected of me. I was convinced that the only thing I wanted to do, ever, was write novels. However, my parents, both of whom came from impoverished backgrounds and neither of whom had been to college, took the view that my overactive imagination was an amusing personal quirk that would never pay a mortgage or secure a pension. I know the irony strikes with the force of a cartoon anvil now, but... So they hoped that I would take a vocational degree. I wanted to study English literature. A compromise was reached that in retrospect satisfied nobody, and I went up to study modern languages. Hardly had my parents' car rounded the corner at the end of the road than I ditched German and scuttled off down the classics corridor. I cannot remember telling my parents that I was studying classics. They might well have found out for the first time on graduation day. Of all the subjects on this planet, I think they would have been hard put to name one less useful than Greek mythology when it came to securing the keys to an executive bathroom. Now, I would like to make it clear in parenthesis that I do not blame my parents for their point of view. There is an expiry date on blaming your parents for steering you in the wrong direction. The moment you are old enough to take the wheel, responsibility lies with you. What is more, I cannot criticize my parents for hoping that I would never experience poverty. They had been poor themselves, and I have since been poor. And I quite agree with them that it is not an ennobling experience. Poverty entails fear and stress, and sometimes depression. It means 1,000 petty humiliations and hardships. Climbing out of poverty by your own efforts, that is something on which to pride yourself, but poverty itself is romanticized only by fools. What I feared most for myself at your age was not poverty, but failure. At your age, in spite of a distinct lack of motivation at university, where I had spent far too long in the coffee bar writing stories and far too little time at lectures, I had a knack for passing examinations. And that, for years, had been the measure of success in my life and that of my peers. Now, I am not dull enough to suppose that because you are young, gifted, and well-educated, you have never known heartbreak.
So we've covered quite a few different types of special occasion speeches. I hope that you can use these skills to really make your speech one of a kind. Make your speech that can honor the occasion and touch the hearts of your audience.